on, guys? Welcome back to Do Some Issue. I actually want to give a breakdown of the real cost of becoming a motorcycle rider. Now, really important for everyone to know that a lot of the items that I purchased are pre-owned or secondhand, purchased off of Facebook Marketplace or someone else, and that itself starts with the actual motorcycle. One thing to keep in mind is that I am a brand new rider. Never held a motorcycle endorsement in my life, never owned a motorcycle, never sat behind the handlebars of a motorcycle before I took on this journey. And where that put me at the time when I made the decision to become a rider is that I had to start from scratch, right? First thing I did was sign up for the MSF course that was required. The second thing was the motorcycle permit test. In the state of Massachusetts, through the school that I took the course with, the cost of the MSF course was $479. In my opinion, I feel like that is a bit expensive, but this is what we get when we live in the New England states. And to be honest, I believe that I've watched videos of people in other states who have taken the same course, and they've actually paid at the very least $100 less. So I don't know if that's true as of 2026. I did take that course in the first quarter of 2026. So that was what the first investment was. Now the permit test itself was $30. All right, so the permit test and the MSF course were coincidentally during the same week. So I took my MSF course on Saturday, on Sunday. Then the permit test was actually the following, like Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. Now, when I went and I took the permit test, obviously I passed that same day, and I did go ahead and have to pay an additional $15 for the actual motorcycle endorsement on my license. I immediately went online, did some research and ordered some equipment. What I did was I went on Revzilla and I made a purchase of the helmet that I use, which is a Scorpion brand. Scorpion or Scorpio, can't remember. And it's a pretty cool helmet. I like it. I do know that there are better ones, but for the time being, this is a good one. On top of that, I bought some gloves that I did not end up really liking. I ended up actually getting a different pair of gloves a couple of months afterwards, which are these Alpine Stars one, and the difference is huge. The ones that I had originally purchased had too much bulk to them, so when I was like doing things and all of that stuff, it just felt like they were just too bulky. So I made the conscious decision to purchase new gloves, which I wish I would have just went to the store and tried gloves on, because I probably could have avoided having to purchase a second set of gloves. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't really hurt too bad, because I am planning on riding with my wife, so she could use those other gloves while she rides backpack. I did need to purchase the face shield for the helmet, and by the face shield I mean the dark one, so I didn't have to wear shades in most situations. Next thing here, along with the purchase of the helmet, the gloves and all of that good stuff, is the boots. Now those boots I love. They are kind of warm, but because my feet are just pretty much just on the pegs the whole time, I don't feel like they're unbearable. Now, and they are a set of pretty good boots. I think they're street and steel boots or something like that. I can put all the details on the description or on the screen somewhere. And that entire purchase of all of those things that I just mentioned was $423. And again, this was before I ever set foot on a bike. It was just pretty much what I assumed I was going to need, and obviously there were a bunch of more purchases after that. When it comes to the motorcycle purchase, I'm not going to include the price of the Street 500. I want to make this about my current setup. This bike is pre-owned. It has 11,000 miles. It was owned by a guy who pretty much cannot ride anymore due to age. And the purchase price was $8,300. Now the bike itself was posted for over a year, and I did end up coming across it and seeing it a few times before I actually extended an offer. I just wasn't sure about, the 11,000 miles, because I had been looking at bikes with, pretty much half of that amount of miles. So with that said, I think the original price that it was posted for was somewhere around 12,000 and some change. And I did end up getting it for $8,300. And I think I could have negotiated a little more, but I had the money, I was there, it was over an hour drive. I didn't want to, it was like literally over 100 degrees that day, and I was sweating to my entire outfit was drenched. Like I was completely drenched from head to toe. So I ended up just settling for the 8,300, or offering, 8,300. Now I'm actually curious to know, do you guys think that for a 2018 Street Bob with 11,000 miles and pretty much just some minor cosmetic issues, if that's a good price? I know there have been similar deals out there on Facebook Marketplace that I came across. Drop it in the comments if you guys have gotten a better deal than that, or if you think that that's actually a pretty good deal on its own. All right, now for registration on this motorcycle, the total amount that I paid was $603.75. Okay, now that's taxes based on the $8,300 that I paid for it, registration transfer, and the title fee. All right, that's a non-negotiable. I don't know how it works in other states, but in the state of Massachusetts, the RMV actually has their own database or records to where they actually double check what the value of the motorcycle is. So regardless if your bill of sales says that you paid one price, they will not even look at that and just let you know, like, the value of this motorcycle is X, and that is what the taxes are pretty much based from. So I believe it was pretty much around the ballpark of what I actually paid for the bike. It was either $8,500 or $8,300 or something like that, and it was pretty accurate, I guess. So I did have to pay the taxes on that. Now, insurance for this motorcycle, to insure this motorcycle for a full year, is $558. I do have Progressive as my insurance, and on my driving record, I don't really have any accidents. I don't have anything but a couple of windshield crack, based claims. So, no accidents, no reckless riding, no tickets, and things of that nature. But what is against me is the fact that I am a new motorcycle rider. That is the premium that I received, and I did not shop around. I know that's a stupid thing. I just ended up sticking with the insurance company that I have now, and once I decide to switch, or if rates go up or anything like that, I'll end up just shopping around and change, everything, because I have my vehicle, trailers, and motorcycle there. Now, at a price of $301.18, I did end up going with a communication system, in specific the Cardo Freecom 4X. And the reason why I settled on the Cardo was because I don't know, I watched a lot of videos, and people, I guess YouTubers just convinced me that Cardo was a bit better than Cena, and I did want to, I guess, at least give it a shot, and I'm pretty happy with it. From here on out, I believe the bulk of the items are modifications that I've made to the bike. The first one I want to discuss the price of is the slip-on exhausts. I purchased Reinhardt slip-on exhaust for this motorcycle, and it made all the difference. I know that full exhaust systems and dynoing your bike and all of those things improve the performance, but right now I'm not worried about performance at all. Right now what I'm worrying about, I simply just want to be heard when I am around vehicles, or when vehicles are around me. And that was the sole purpose of that. I can get the full price, the actual price of those slip-ons, and I'll put them up on the screen. But I ended up purchasing those for $250 on Facebook Marketplace. Now, that was one of those things that I didn't even try to negotiate. The guy ended up being the coolest guy ever. I was actually ready to wait until next season to change the exhaust on the bike, and it popped up. I reached out. It was a great price. The guy said, yeah, dude, it was kind of far from my house. It was also about an hour from me, and it was kind of close to where I purchased the bike from. But the guy said, dude, I'll meet you halfway. And again, he was the coolest dude ever. I ended up just giving him the full asking price, and I feel like so far it was worth it. Now, for the price of $350, I actually purchased the Saddleman seat. It was a Saddleman step-up seat and a Sissy Bar. Now, this one, I want to say that was a one hell of a story. I think it does beat the story of the slip-ons. I looked at some seats on Facebook Marketplace, and the truth is that I didn't like anything that I was seeing, whether it was the price or the actual seat. Now, I came across this random post, and it was listed for $590. Okay, now $590 is kind of up there with the price of just a Saddleman seat. So for the Sissy Bar, if that's something that you were looking for, it was a good deal. I ended up sending an offer to the guy, and I told him ahead of time that if it's, I know we're kind of far apart, but would you consider $400? And the guy didn't respond for a day, so I was like, oh yeah, he probably feels like I lowballed him, so he's not gonna respond or whatnot. Next thing I know, I get a response from him, and he says, oh, well, I'm selling these for my buddy Jim. Here's his phone number. Which automatic red flag, right? Like, yeah, you're selling it for someone, here's his phone number. I immediately don't do that on Facebook, right? And then he goes on to say, he's unfortunately, he's not available today, but he said that if you're able to meet tomorrow at any time of the day, he can do $350. Now, I had to take a second to analyze this because it was just too much in one message. First, it wasn't the guy's, items. Then we got this guy's Jim who I need to now reach out to and go meet him. And I offered $400, but he countered with a lower price. Now I'm like, what the fuck is this? Either this is like really good, or I'm probably gonna get robbed. So I took a day to respond, and I was like, you know what? I can at least reach out to this guy and see how things go, right? So I ended up calling him, and immediately I realized that it was an older gentleman. So that kind of put me at ease, not fully, because obviously people are schemers, right, and con artists. So, we ended up speaking on the phone, and he's like, listen, man, I ended up getting a bunch of back surgery. I ended up getting, I think, a hip replacement surgery and a back surgery. So I ended up having to get rid of my bike. Now I got rid of the bike, and people kept lowballing me, so I took off all the accessories that I had on it, and this is pretty much what's left of it. And at this point, it's been a while already, so I just want to sell this. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I decided to choose a place that I know. I ended up, meeting him at a local Lowe's, and everything went well. The guy was actually super nice as well. I immediately, after purchasing the bike, needed to get tires. I believe they're Metzler's, and I'll add the, obviously the item number and all of that stuff on the screen. I paid $453 for the tires themselves. Now, that does not include the installation. That's simply just the cost of the tires. To get the tires installed, the price for that was $100, which was $50 per tire for installation, which in my books is pretty good. I've called a different amount of places, and they've all told me a bunch of different prices. I know Cycle Gear does it for a little cheaper if you purchased it from like their site or Revzilla, but the closest Cycle Gear shop is over 40 minutes for me. So I decided to do it at a local shop, which I don't regret. The total price for the fairing was $609.98. That fairing is an option that I made simply because it came back in stock, and I was eyeing it for a while, but it was not a purchase that I was going to make right away. It was one of those things that I kind of happened to check the website, and after months of it being not discontinued, but out of stock, I actually ended up, I was next to my wife and I was like, oh, I checked and it's in stock, but it's, it's not what I'm looking to do right now. She's like, you know what, just pull the trigger if it's going to make you happy. And I end up going with the purchase. Now, I'm going to throw the price of $167.87 out there for miscellaneous accessories. And this varies. Obviously, there are things in here that I still haven't even added. But this varies from like the jack, the motorcycle jack, the tie-down straps to mount to the bike so that I can trailer it. And a couple of other things, maybe a couple of ratchet sockets and things of that nature, yellow glasses, and I'm sure that there's more, but that's pretty much what I tallied up just quickly. The $167.87 was actually for the maintenance item. So when I ordered spark plugs, which I actually only ordered 2 and this bike has 4, so I am going to be missing those in the total. But for that price, it was just all the oils. I did the 3-hole service on this bike. I'm replacing the spark plugs. I changed a couple of gaskets and things like that. So the actual price for the accessories actually ripped out of the sheet, or maybe I cut it off. So I don't have that, but I'll be sure to add it in the screen just for reference. And with that, also the full price. And again, this is a price breakdown of someone who was brand new to riding, someone who didn't have the minimum accessories or requirements for being a motorcycle owner. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions or have deals that you may beat mine, please feel free to add it to the comment section. I am looking forward to continuing growing this channel, and please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me.